Holy crap, Colorado. Check out this guy, okay? It looks like we're going to have a Republican governor. So you got this George H. Brauchler. Now, George H. Brauchler, he is known for convicting or going after whatever that guy is, Aurora shooter with the orange hair, right? And then there was another incident, the Combine shooters. He was the only person who got 2 felony convictions, or he prosecuted. He went after the people who sold those 2 kids their weapons, so he was able to get 2 felonies on that case, and now he is pushing for the death penalty, okay? So there's one other high-profile case, a woman who was, or a 17-year-old woman, girl, right at the cusp there. She was sitting there planning another Combine thing, but look at this man. I mean, look at this picture. He's pretty strapping, yeah. I mean, he's, brown, blue, steely-eyed, and he's got that gray hair, right? Looks like perfect Aryan nation race. He's Anglo-Saxon, right? Everybody in America is Anglo-Saxon, but at least the whites are. But just go down the list, okay? So right now he's the 18th Judicial Circuit District Attorney. He just got in there this January, okay? There's 22 judicial districts, and then he is one of those district attorneys. District Attorney is the one that covers all these different counties. He covers Arapahoe, Douglas, Elbert, and Lincoln County. So he's one of the, very important state's attorneys, the district attorney for the state, and the 18th Judicial Circuit is the most populous in Colorado, 1 million people. George Brauchler's past experience includes working as a deputy district attorney, special assistant U.S. attorney, military prosecutor. So that's interesting. Is he prosecuting other troops and soldiers? And then just prior to his election, the chief of military justice, again, right? That would be prosecuting Americans. The chief prosecutor for Fort Carson, the 4th Infantry Division and U.S. Division North in Iraq. I think that's what it is. I mean, the chief prosecutor would just be anybody, right? But your jurisdiction would be over the Americans. Are you the chief prosecutor? I don't understand. Is he prosecuting combatants? I mean, is he like doing the military tribunals for the enemy combatants? His phone number is 720-675-8885. Says in 2015, George transferred from the U.S. Army Reserve to the Colorado Army National Guard. He serves as a lieutenant colonel. He serves as an adjunct professor at the University of Colorado, University of Denver, the U.S. Army JAG School. He's trained state and military prosecutors across the U.S. and worldwide. Office of District Attorney seeks justice, promotes rule of law, prosecutes criminals under Colorado's laws, strives to protect the rights and interests of crime victims, and works to prevent crime before it occurs. The office supports preventive programs and initiatives that aim to reduce crime. Okay, so his resume just goes on and on and on. I'm sitting here drooling, and he's teaching litigation technology and then voir dire in the spring. So I don't know. It's just that Hickenlooper had recently, they had a couple spats in between. They're sitting there saying that Hickenlooper, the governor right now, is a Hillary Clinton sycophant, right? He was jockeying to be the vice president, so a Hillary Clinton sycophant. But they're sitting there saying that he's got no... Brauchler, he was the lead prosecutor in the case against the Aurora Theater shooter James Holmes. He assailed Hickenlooper in 2013 for issuing a temporary stay of execution to convicted killer Nathan Dunlap. And the next governor is free to lift the stay. So that's what this all started out. This has to do with Nathan Dunlap, okay? And we'll get to that in a minute. That was 1993, an Aurora shooting from Chuck E. Cheese. So he stays. There's a guy that was on death row. The current governor didn't kill him. And this guy is saying, yeah, murder, murder, murder. And the murder is pretty heinous. It's pretty bad. They're trying to say that maybe he's crazy. And then, disproportionately goes after poor and black. And so the guy, Nathan Dunlap, is black. But he killed 4 people in cold blood and then seriously injured the 5th. So that's what all this exchange starts with. Brauchler says you should have killed the man, and then Governor Hickenlooper, Nathan Dunlap, had severe mental disabilities, and he says he couldn't put someone like him to death because he had severe mental disabilities. There was one report that said that he had hypomania, perhaps he had hypomania. There was a psychologist from his Overland High School, and he was 14 years old, that said that he had signs of hypomania. So Hickenlooper says that he's got mental health disabilities, so he couldn't do it. And then he also says, look at capital punishment in its whole. It's not a deterrent. Whether you have the death penalty or not, there's the same amount of crime, the same amount of heinous, violent murders, pointing to the high cost of prosecuting death penalty cases. It's the ultimate moral question. My job, he says, as governor, is to call up some jailer down in Canyon City and tell him to kill somebody he doesn't want to kill. That's just morally a very difficult position. And so the jailers in Canyon City are the ones doing the... John Hickenlooper, he also says that it's not cost effective. He said that he used to be pro-death penalty when he first got in there, eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth, but he's came 180 degrees. Now, this Rubik's Cube, this Brauchler says our affable governor has turned this decision into a Rubik's Cube he cannot solve. And it's not. It's not a Rubik's Cube that you can't solve. So that's good. Affable governor. So he's saying that he's a nice governor. So Hickenlooper is nice. But he's saying that this, this case with Nathan Dunlap is just, it's not as difficult as they're making it out to be. So it's pretty simple. So he gets fired. This guy has a troubled, past, but he's 18, 19 years old, and this is in Aurora, Colorado. He got fired. He's 19 years old. He comes back. He hides in the bathroom, and then after they close, he shoots 4 people, or he shoots 5, but 4 of them die, robs them, and then they catch him. So for the victims, if you just go to Wikipedia, the 1993 Aurora shooting. So he hid in the bathroom at 9:50 p.m., and then he comes out after closing at 10:05 p.m., and he shot 5 employees with a .25 caliber semi-automatic pistol. He first shoots Sylvia Crowell, who was 19, cleaning the salad bar. She was hit at close range, mortally wounded. Ben Grant, 19 years old, was fatally shot near the left eye as he was vacuuming. Colleen O'Connor, 17, pleaded for her life, sunk to her knees, but Dunlap, he went ahead and killed her. Nathan Dunlap killed her anyways, shot her through the top of the head. Bobby Stevens, 20, the lone survivor of the shooting, returned to the restaurant after taking a break by smoking outside, assuming the noise he heard from the restaurant. When he was outside, were children popping balloons nearby as he walked into the restaurant, unloaded utensils into the dishwasher. Nathan Dunlap came through the kitchen door, raised a handgun at him, and fired a shot that struck. Dunlap takes Marge Kohlberg, a 50-year-old store manager, to unlock the safe. After she opens it, he shoots her in the ear. He takes the cash out of the safe. He fires a second fatal shot through Kohlberg's other ear after he noticed she was still moving. The manager who fired Dunlap was not present at the restaurant. Stevens escaped through a back door and walked to the nearby Mill Pond apartment complex, pounded on a door to alert someone that he and others had been shot. He was hospitalized. They eventually find Nathan Dunlap at his mother's apartment. 12 hours later, he had fled the scene with $1,500 worth of cash and game tokens that he stole from inside the restaurant. So he didn't just steal money, he was stealing game tokens. And then, he's found guilty of first-degree murder, and he was sentenced to death, and he was sentenced to 108 years, to serve. And then he exclaimed profanities in an outburst. Nathan Jared Dunlap was born April 8, 1974. He was raised by his adoptive father and biological mother, who married each other. When he was a few months old, he never met his biological father. He was raised in Chicago, then Memphis, and then Michigan, then moved to Colorado in 1984. Dunlap's mother struggled with mental health issues. She was diagnosed with schizophrenia and bipolar disorder at least twice in Dunlap's junior high school years. He attempted suicide when Nathan Jared Dunlap was 14. His adopted father asked a psychologist at Overland High School to evaluate him, and testing revealed signs of hypomania, no former treatment. He committed several armed robberies at the age of 15 using a golf club and then firearms. He spent time incarcerated at a juvenile detention center due to erratic episode. He was sent to a psychiatric hospital. When released, he began selling drugs. Nathan Dunlap was arrested 5 times on misdemeanor offenses in 1993. He began working at the restaurant. Dunlap had a disagreement with his supervisor over schedule hours. That would be pretty embarrassing, right? It'd be pretty humiliating, especially if you liked one of these co-workers and then you got fired, right? You got fired from Chuck E. Cheese. That would be pretty embarrassing. That would suck. It doesn't warrant murder. He did have a tough, time growing up. He's only 19 when all this had happened. I still have a hard time feeling sorry for him. I mean, he murdered 4 people. 4 people were killed. The tirade that he yelled out when he was convicted, he said, "This is not a black and white issue. Hey, man, check it out. I don't have a problem with white people. I got white friends, a white girlfriend, white attorneys. Why did you do that? I don't give a fuck about you, your mother, your whole motherfucking family. Kill me right now. I haven't had enough of this motherfucking shit. You can take me to the motherfucking little chair and do what the fuck you want." Family members who watched the outburst nearly got into the fray when Dunlap accused the victim's relatives of a high-profile case that he was a part of, George Brauchler. So George Brauchler, it looks like it was recent. The 18th Judicial District DA's office calls a plot against Mountain Vista High School. So Brooke Higgins, 17 years old, she was 16 when she came up with this plot to attack this high school. I don't know if that's a cry for help or if that's a protest against the public education system, right? That's not a good school if the school is sitting there, either she's got a really crappy home life or the school is compounding the problems that she has. But they said that she's going to spend 3 years in juvenile and then have 4 years probation. And so George Brauchler was saying that was a very good, middle of the road for her being a juvenile and adult. And then he said it was a strong sledgehammer. So if she does, you had this, girl and this other girl, this Brooke Higgins, who's now 17, and she was with somebody else, and so according to George Brauchler, it looked like they were very serious in practical plans for Columbine-style attack, but the family says that she had dark fantasies, she was troubled, she was abusing drugs, but she never meant to hurt anybody. One of the main pieces of evidence was her purple journal, and it said that, she'd been using cocaine for a few months. They have a lot of the journal entries written down here. She was deeply unhappy. She was in an accident which she had died. Things were weird inside of her. She is incredibly angry at the world. She wrote, "A day did not go by. She did not think about killing herself." She indicated she wanted to die. She indicated she was the other lady, Johnson, she was in due for court for a status conference. For some reason, they had 2 different sentences or 2 different processes. Here it says that George Brauchler had offered a deal, the first of its kind for his office. Basically, it was a conspiracy to commit murder charge, went through adult court, but the solicitation to commit murder count was processed under the juvenile system. So I'm not for sure what's up with that. That seems very bizarre. She's a juvenile. Right, and she actually didn't go through with it. They were able to stop it, but I guess when does an idea become criminal? Does an idea ever become criminal, right? If you're preparing for it and you have the journal and you're like on your way to do it, I think, yeah, but if it's just in your journal and there's no date, I don't know. I think there could have been some wiggle room, but she already made a plea bargain. Okay, so what? Who cares? What does all this mean? I'll tell you what it means. First of all, John Hickenlooper, I don't know if they're just playing this partisan sort of, back and forth, but he is wrong if he thinks George Brauchler doesn't have a chance. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and call it right now. I think George H. Brauchler has got the governor's chair. Okay? I haven't even looked at, the Democratic candidates, all the Republican candidates. There's 10 total between the 2 parties. And I'm not sure if there's any independents out there, but man, this guy just looks stellar, right? He's got a good look to him. He's a handsome feller, but he's also got a resume that's just impressive as shit too. And he's right. He's right when it comes to this Nathan Dunlap thing. So Nathan Dunlap is probably going to die. The Democrats, even if they're against the death penalty, might just go along with it so that they don't look weak on crime. Mr. Brauchler, George Brauchler had a private practice for about 2 or 3 years, and it said that he had complex civil litigation and he represented veterans, which is all good and well, but the private practice makes me wonder what did he do when he was in private. But for his public career, right, he prosecuted domestic violence, homicide, larceny, narcotics, most notably the only 2 felonies rising out of the Columbine high school shootings. He's one that pushed for James Holmes, right? He's the lead prosecutor. But James Holmes is still alive. I'm not sure what is up with that. Nathan Dunlap isn't nearly as crazy as, not crazy It's both crazy, right? To kill is crazy, but I think they're both competent in the sound of mind. I don't know what the fuck was going through their minds at the time. Some MK Ultra shit. I don't know, but James Holmes should die. I believe in an eye for an eye. I go back and forth when it comes to the death penalty. Should the state be killing people? No, it's very barbaric. But then if the state doesn't kill people, doesn't that say, well, hell, you're allowed to kill people? It's like you give them a power that you know, if the state doesn't kill killers, then the killers have a power that the state doesn't have. I mean, you had Nathan Dunlap killed 4 people. James Holmes, you know, I don't know how many people he killed, but he killed up a whole, you know, shot up a whole bunch of people. So I go back and forth with it because he deserves to die, but do we deserve to kill them? You know what I mean? Like on our own conscience. Some people said that because it's barbaric and no matter what, let's just use a guillotine. Let's just use a guillotine and then we sit there. There is no, you know, nice way. There is no uncruel and usual punishment to kill somebody. You know, it doesn't matter if it's electric or if it's lethal injection. There is no good. Supreme Court Justice, the Gorsuch, he was in favor of the death penalty, so the Supreme Court is totally going to back George Brauchler. This is Hinkenlooper, I think, is being too liberal on this issue, and then George Brauchler, he seems to be too conservative on the issue. Is there something in the middle? Right? Can we not, you know, we don't have to kill the shit out of them, but then we don't have to give clemency to every criminal out there, right? Go after the most heinous criminals. If they killed bunches of people, they should die, right? Get whatever it is you want out of them. Get their, you know, ask them why, and if you want to study, you know, psychologists want to study them while they're still alive, you know, give them 5 years of, you know, let the psychologist come and talk to him and try to figure out, you know, what caused him to have this breakdown. But, yeah, so I think Nathan Dunlap is going to die, and I think George Brauchler pretty much